Welcome back to This Day. Joining me now is Dr. John Hovnessian with Harvard Eye Associates. John, it's so good to see you. Always a pleasure.
Great to see you, Bobby, again.
Yeah, and so here we are in November. I can't believe this year is just
crazy.
like flying
the
by.
holidays are upon us. Isn't that exciting?
That's what I was just saying
behind.
about Halloween or Thanksgiving decorations, Christmas decorations.
It's time to think about all that.
How about you? Do you have any family traditions that you guys do?
Oh, Thanksgiving together, like with most folks, is always fun. It's, we have two away in college this year, so it'd be great to have those two home and one who's a ninth grader, so, it'll be a great mix.
Yeah, and now are they off for the whole week, or do they have to fly back right after?
We've got one at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo who's off for the week, and one at UCLA who's just got 2 days off. So,
okay.
It's this is the problem when the kids get big, right? Is they end up having different schedules, and you have to try to coordinate around all of them.
Yeah.
And like many things in parenting, it's impossible, but you do your best.
That was 2 years ago. My daughter had graduated high school, and then she went to Miami to do her dream team cheer team.
Yeah.
So she was just there for 1 year, and I remember like the day after New Year's Day, she had to go back like New Year's Day because she had practice the next day.
Oh,
we were
crazy.
Like, really? Like, we haven't seen you in months and months,
Right. When do you get a break? Apparently not.
So speaking of Thanksgiving and being grateful and giving back, you do have a tradition that you do. I believe it's yearly, right? You just got back from Armenia.
Yep. Since I was a resident in ophthalmology, my first trip was 2005. No, not 2000. 1995.
Wow.
That I first went to Armenia and began working, in this case, at a hospital called Malayan Eye Hospital. So Armenia is a country of about 3 million people. It's in the area between Iran and Turkey and Azerbaijan and Georgia, so just south of Russia. And it's a former Soviet state that became independent in 1991. And like so many countries there, had bad economic problems. They also had an earthquake at that time that really just decimated the healthcare system. And there was a wave of blindness. So the country has, as I said, 3 million people. It's a all Christian country, virtually, that is about the size of the state of Maryland. And 2/3 of the people live in the capital city, where we do most of our work. And 1/3 live in the capital city, 2/3 outside. And so we've made trips there. And on this recent trip, I went with 3 other local doctors. One doctor who joined us from Australia. We frequently have doctors. Most of them are not Armenian who come along, because it's not about it being Armenia. It's about it being a place, that we can make an impact. And so Ashraf Ahmad, who works in my practice, a wonderful new doctor in our practice, and Matthew Wade from UC Irvine, 2 cornea specialists, and I'm a cornea specialist too, came along on the trip. We had a local optometrist, Francesca Sefton, who came along, and then Yeria, who came from Australia, another optometrist who's going to help us begin an important therapeutic contact lens program.
Wow.
So really
How did you originally come across this program and then want to go and do this?
My church, which is part of the Armenian Orthodox Church, had a trip for young professionals in 1995 when I was a resident, and it paired me up, with a professional of similar type institution in Armenia, and it was this same hospital that I still go to today. It turns out that at the same time, a doctor locally, Roger Ohanessian, my now retired partner, who founded the project 30 years ago, had been going already by the time I made my first trip, and I learned about him, and we became friends, and that's why I work at Harvard Eye Associates, was because of our mutual interest in Armenia.
How interesting.
On this trip, we did a number of things. We did a teaching program for the residents. We have what we call a wet lab. A wet lab is a facility where we have surgical microscopes and surgical equipment that young residents can use, and we use model eyes and to demonstrate surgery and let them actually practice. So before they actually work on humans, they get to really refine their skills. We also opened, here's a picture of a new clinic. So this is what we call a diagnostic clinic. They don't do surgery there, but the local doctors can diagnose eye disease. This was a donation from the Hovnanian, if you've heard of Hovnanian Homes. One of the brothers, Hovnanian, donated this clinic that we had the pleasure of opening on this trip, and seeing a few patients there. And And we also visited our mobile eye hospital. I think there's a picture here in that of that.
Is this the big truck? Here,
The
this
big
is the
truck.
mobile. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And so, this has been on the road since 2003. We first deployed this.
Wow.
It's celebrating its 20th anniversary now. And we have done tens of thousands of surgeries on there. There's, I think the picture after this is a picture inside. Yeah, so there's Asa Turhovsepyan. This is a doctor that we employ in Armenia who works on this hospital, and you're seeing the inside of it. There's the operating room on the right with a patient, and they do case after case after case, all free to the local population. All of that equipment has been donated by donors or companies, and the medications, everything that we use there is free to the poor population in the rural countryside who can't make it to the capital city.
Wow.
So it's been quite a journey.
I was looking when I was looking at the pictures. One of the pictures, it did show. I was going to ask, what is that called? It's not a mannequin, but it did show a head, and so I took from that like, oh, there must be teaching going on as well as seeing patients.
Yeah. So the model eyes and the model heads that we use. This is in our wet lab. On the left, that's Ashraf Ahmad, my partner who is teaching one of the residents there. And they make incredibly similar. You can use eyes from pigs. They take them from a slaughterhouse when they're a pork factory. The eyes they harvest for us to use for surgical practice. Or we had Stuart Stoll from a company here in California that makes model eyes that are incredibly realistic. Donate a number for this trip that were used by the residents. And that's even in many ways more realistic, believe it or not, than a pig eye for residents who are learning. So when you have a country of 3 million people, there's no number of trips that I can make or my colleagues can make to meet the demand they have for eye care. Right. So we have to build capacity. We have to, work on teaching. It's the teach a man to fish analogy. And so because Dr. Ohan Essien had this vision to do that 30 years ago, and many of us who've been involved a long time have been driving toward that. Today we have a beautiful hospital that is certainly the leading one, not just in the country, but in the region. And at our conferences, we get doctors from Uzbekistan, we had doctors from Kyrgyzstan on this visit, and lots of people who come to learn in Armenia.
And you said you had a meeting with like 300 people that came to see.
That was the conference, so that included pretty much all of the ophthalmologists in the country of Armenia who come to learn. They're all kind of educated through the Armenian Eye Care Project and from surrounding countries, so that they can learn and kind of take away the techniques we've used to spread information, to teach other doctors. And so this has spilled over into other specialties because we've been at it so long and we've been fairly effective.
Oh, that's great.
And so that's gratifying. But honestly, the most gratifying things on making trips like this are the individual stories.
Yes.
So we had several years ago a child who was a baby who had a white corneas, born with the cornea is the front clear part of the eye. It's where we see the color of our eye, and they were white because of basically a birth defect. And the child needed a corneal transplant, and we performed a corneal transplant on this child with tissue that we had brought from donors in the U.S. to this country. And this little boy came back to see us and brought flowers. And there's a picture on the left of him. On the right is another little girl we did a corneal transplant on a few years ago, actually last year. And it's just incredible to see their families tell us the activities that they're doing, to have the kids come and give us a big hug and see that smile, and to know that here in a place where they had little hope for vision, just without us, we were able to make a difference in their lives. So that makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I was definitely going to ask about those pictures with the flowers and what was the story behind that. So, what would you say by doing this work? How does it change you? How does it lead to then the work, when you come back?
Well, first of all, we learn how spoiled we are in this U.S. When we walk into an operating room here, to have the scalpels be sharp, to have the instruments work, to have the lights on. In the old days, the lights would go off in the middle of surgery.
Wow.
It certainly makes us more versatile. It makes us more grateful. It makes us understand the worst kinds of disease, so that we are much better equipped today to handle the more moderate disease that we tend to see. And to be sure, we have serious disease in this country as well, not to minimize it, but when you see what, how people get by, how doctors get by who have almost nothing, you certainly gain appreciation for the blessings we have in this country.
Yeah, well, that's a wonderful note to leave it on, and it's great work that you're doing. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for coming and sharing the pictures.
Thanks, Bobby.
and telling us about this trip.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. If you would like to get involved or donate with the American Eye Care Project, you too can check them out online at eyecareproject.com or call them at 866-GIV-AECP. Stay with us. We'll have more of this day right after this.